Welcome to today's tutorial. I will be explaining how to set up SFML in Codeblocks for game development in C++. So it's not really that difficult to set it up. The only small problem with setting it up, right, is having the right compilers, right, things like that. So what I'm going to do is, okay, let me delete some of this. Okay, I'm not gonna need this. Okay, so let me just do this. Let me minimize. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to go to the SFML website, which is this URL. Then you're gonna click on download, and then you're gonna select the version, the latest stable version, which is this, which will always be this link. The current version is 2.6.1, right? So it depends on which IDE you're using. If you're using Visual Studio, right? You see, unless if you're using a newer version of Visual Studio, the compiler versions have to match 100%. So they say unless if you're using Visual Studio, it doesn't matter if the compilers match or not. So since we're not going to set it up for Visual Studio, we're setting it up for Codeblocks. That means we need to have the right compiler for that specific SFML library. So before you do that, they told you that here are the links for specific MinchW compiler versions, because we're going to have to download this one. My laptop is 64-bit. You can check your specification, right? So you can click the Windows icon and type about. It should show you about your PC. And then if you check mine, you see mine, the system type, it's 64-bit operating system. So it's a 64-bit. So therefore, I'm going to choose to download this one over here. I already have it downloaded, but before you do that, make sure you download the compiler. You see this compiler here. You need to download it. So in order to check if your compiler is set up or not, click the Windows icon and then type CMD and then press enter and then type G++ minus minus version, because you want to see what the version of G++, or you want to see if it's set up or not. If you press enter and it says it wasn't found, blah, 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 that means it's not set up. You need to download it. You see on my laptop, it is set up. So what I would do is, okay, I don't have to delete it, but it's fine. You download this compiler, right? So I'm using 64-bit. Remember, I'm using 64. You could be using 32-bit. Depends on your system architecture. So there's the WinLibs, blah, blah, it's downloading, right? I already have it downloaded. So remember we're setting up with the compiler first. So I already have it downloaded. That's fine. Then I'm gonna go to my downloads. It should be there on downloads. Then you unzip, right? When you unzip within the folder, you'll find this folder named what is it called? MinchW64. So you need to take that folder, this one MinchW64, and save it on C drive, right? Copy it and paste it under the C drive folder or directory, and then go inside that MinchW64, and then go within the bin folder. You see you see also there's the G++, there's GCC. So that's where it's found. So I'm going to go to the top here and then copy the path. So I'm just gonna right click and say copy, because I need to tell Windows that when I type a specific command, it should know where it's found. So if I type G++, it's located at C drive MinchW bin folder. So now I need to click my Windows icon and then I'm going to search for environment. The moment you type environment, it's going to show you here. I don't advise you clicking the one that says for your account. You just click this one. This one should be fine. So I'm gonna select that, and then I'm gonna go here under environment variables, select that, and then under system variables, I'm gonna select the path right here under path, and then I'm gonna click edit. And then as you can see, there's mine here, minww64, right? So if you didn't, you don't have it yet, you have to say new, and then Control V to paste that location that we copied, and then just press enter to save it. I already have it, so I'm not going to put it again. And then once you've saved it here, then you click OK, and then you click OK. And then you click OK. So when you search CMD and then you type G++ version minus version, it should now show what type of compiler has been installed, the version for that compiler. Remember, the compiler versions need to match. So that's why we're setting up the compiler. And then once you're done, let's go back to SFML. You're going to download the SFML library depending on your system architecture. Mine is 64. Yours could be 32. Choose the right one. So you click download if it's 64, and then it's going to download, right? I already have it downloaded, right? So that's not a problem. So after downloading it, you're gonna unzip it. And then after unzipping it, right, you'll see that you have, when you go within that unzipped folder, you'll see that there's a folder called SFML 2.6.1. So that folder, you need to copy or cut it and put it and paste it under the C drive. You see, there's mine here. There's a preview on older version, but this is the version that you download will be this one, 2.6.1. So once you have that SFML on your C drive, then good. We can now go to Codeblocks, right? So I'm gonna go inside Codeblocks, and it doesn't matter what I do these things, but before I do anything, I'm gonna go to change my compiler, right? So you're gonna click on settings, and then you go to compiler. So settings, compiler, and then you go to toolchain executables. You do not want it to auto detect. For you, it won't be showing here. I don't want it to auto detect. So I'm gonna click these three dots. Then I'm gonna go to my C drive, right? And then I'm just gonna select once that minww64 folder, right? And then click select, and then there's the minww64. And then leave the rest as it is. And then click OK. And then done. The compiler has been set. Now we can create our game, right? Our application. So some of you might see that you're going to have the SFML project template. This is outdated, right? So we're not going to use that. Even the Qt ones, all of these are outdated. So we're just going to pretend like we're creating a console application. So console application, choose the language C++. Then there's the project. So SFML game, and then choose the folder to save it in, and then next, and then compiler, and then next, and then done. So there's our project, right? There's going to be quite a lot of setup, so follow attentively. So you're gonna click on your project name, and then right click, and then click on build options. Under this build options, right, it's going to do a pop-up. Make sure on this left panel, you select the top, which is the name of your project. Once you've selected the name of your project, then you go to search directories, right? Search directories, but make sure you click the name of the project first. Then under compiler, you're going to click add. So under compiler, we need the include folder. So I'm going to click this folder icon to search for that to specific folder, right? Then I'm going to go to my C drive. I need to locate my SFML folder. So I'm going to scroll down. So there's my SFML. And remember what I said, we need the include folder, which is this include folder. And then once I've clicked the include folder, I select folder. And do not, you're going to have this pop-up that's going to say, keep this as a relative path. No, I do not want that. I want it as an absolute path. As a relative, it's not going to work. So click no, and then you see that it'll be in full. It'll be an absolute path. Then you're going to click on linker. Under linker, pretty much to do the same thing, but we need our library, the library folder, right? So I'm going to click the folder icon, go to my C drive, scroll down, SFML, and then lib, right? And then select folder, and then select no again because we do not want relative paths. And then okay, right? And then now I go to debug folder, and then under linker settings. So for both debug and release, we need to always set for both debug and release. Keep that in mind. So since SFML header files depend on other header files, you need to put them in that specific order. So we want to make use of SFML graphics, right? So the library that I will add is SFML hyphen graphics, right? But it's under the debug. If you read the documentation, right, it says that the debug folder, the debug SFML. Um, so let me click on tutorials and then code blocks. So if you check here, where is it? It does talk about let me just give me a minute to check it out. But yeah, if it has a hyphen D, that means it's for debug. Else it means it's for yeah, else it means that it's for release. So if it contains a hyphen, so for example, by hyphen D, yeah, like these ones, right? So you see they have a hyphen D. So these are for debug. So what we need is three, right? So we want to make use of SFML graphics, but for debug we need to put that hyphen D. So the folder is actually the files in full name is actually -d.a. But remember, in the documentation they say you omit the .a. And then the SFML graphics header file depends on the SFML window, right? But /d because it's in debug mode. And then the window one depends on system. So SFML system -d. So these are the three that we need. But for under release, right, we just omit the D. That's pretty much the -d. That's pretty much what the difference. So let's add them. So SFML graphics -d because I'm under debug. You see debug has been selected. And then that SFML graphics depends on Windows. So Windows SFML window -d. But then that window depends on system. So I need to also add SFML system -d. And then I pretty much do the same thing. So I select release now. Since I'm done with debug, you see there's debug. How do I know it's debug? It is a -d. And then under release, I pretty much do the same thing. I say add SFML graphics, but no -d, right? Because it's under release. And then SFML window, and then SFML system. So that's pretty much all you need. So we actually done setting it up, right? But not necessarily done. So I need to click OK. And then I need to do this, right? If you check at the bottom there, at the bottom, so whether statically or dynamically, however you're setting up your SFML, you need to copy all the DLLs, So you need to copy all of them. So if you check my project folder, right? So you'll see that there's no bin folder, so I need to generate it. So I'm gonna go under Codeblocks projects, SFML game. So you see there's no bin folder. So what I'm going to do is, and you need to remember what we did. We set it up both for release and debug. So if you go to build and then you go to select target, there's debug by default. So that means I'll have a debug folder. So I'm going to build. After building, if I go back to my project, there will be a bin folder now, but there's only debug. So I need to switch from debug to release so that I also have a release folder because I need to set it up for both. So select release. After I selected release and then build, then I go back here. Now I have a release folder. So perfect. But now I need to go back to build and then put it back to debug, right? So now it's back on debug. Now we need to copy all of the DLLs and put them within the release folder, which is here, and also within the debug folder. Remember, debug, it means you're still debugging your application. Release, it means that you're uploading it on platforms like Google Play Store for everyone to download. That's pretty much the difference between the two. So I'm going to go to my SFML folder under the C drive folder, go inside bin, and then everything that's here, I need to copy it. So I need to copy all of this, every DLL, every single one, you need to copy it. Then you're going to go to where your project is stored or where you've created your project. So I've called it SFML game. And then within the folder, remember I said you need to put them in both folders, debug and release. So let's start with debug. So debug, Control V, there's all the DLLs. And then I'm going to go inside release and then Control V, there they are, the DLLs. And then now everything should be fine. So now I'm going to go here. So let me just build to see if you're not going to have any issues. But let me go here and then copy this code, this template code, or this startup code to just test if your app is working. So Control V to paste it all. Remember, you see that it uses the graphics header file. That's why we set up the graphics. Then I'm just gonna build and see if I'll get an error while I try building. So no error means that was good. And then let's try to build and run. So there we go. There's our application. So that's pretty much how you set it up. So thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe